you have this belief that you're supposed to be happy all the time, that you're supposed to have nuclear reactor levels of energy 100% of the time, and that you're to imbue everyone around you with that same energy, eventually what happens is you get what? You burn out. You get frustrated, you get pissed off, you get resentful, right? Hello, welcome to a small. Today we are talking about how to build a business without burning the bleep out. All right, and if you're excited about that, shout a Y in the chat. I'm really excited to talk to you about this because, y'all, I started this business as a anti-burnout strategy. All right, so way back in the day, I was working in corporate America, and I was traveling 46 weeks a year, and I had a little guy at home who, by the way, is now taller than his dad. Like, when he was first taller than me, I was like, yeah, okay, that's not a big accomplishment. I'm not exactly tall. But then he got taller than his dad, who, we're not going to commentate on Chris's height because that is rude, but the point is that little guy is tall. So anyway, I just spent so much time, energy, and money trying to keep the wheels from falling off. And if you can just relate to that, shout a Y in the chat, because that is what it makes this session so super important. You know, we've been talking about, we've got to get into action, right? You got to do what matters. We also need to track our actions so that we can get some real traction, right? Because if you do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, and you're getting the same result that you've always had, that is the definition of insanity, right? So we've got to actually track the data. Shout data in the chat if you've heard me preach loud and clear how important it is to actually see your business in black and white, right? Data, right? No, not data. Yay, data. Yay, data. I used to say never do math in public, and I still kind of have a firm stance on high permissibility to slow down to get your math right in public. But seriously, yes, right? Yes, data. And last week we were talking about the power of belief, right? Because the thing is like, before you actually do the thing, do you have any data? Right? You've got to believe, man. Like, you need faith in what you're doing. You need faith in like the reasons that you're doing what you're doing. You need faith that it's going to work out. And, you know, one of my favorite little reminders on that one is like, if it's not completely over, then it's not the end, right? Who here can relate to like having a frustration that lasts longer than you preferred, right? Like, maybe you had like a health goal that just seemed to just keep pushing off into the future. Or maybe a financial goal and it just kept on pushing off to the future, or maybe even went the wrong way. Or maybe you've got like friendships, relationships, romantic relationships that you're like, I want this thing to spark and fizzle, but it's really just doing the fizzle part, right? And you want it to improve and you want it to be better, but it's just not, right? Or it might even be going in the reverse trajectory to what you actually desire. Tell me I'm not alone on that. Shout a Y in the chat if you've ever had a struggle that's lasted longer than you preferred, right? So that's me too. And that's where belief is so important. Now, we're not building belief into a delusion that if I just keep doing the same action the same way, it's just going to magically work out. All right. We live in a deterministic universe. And although we can have a magical experience in the world, to be very frank with you, there's causes and effects to practically everything. That's how things happen. Now, do we always understand the cause? Do we always understand what the ripple on second, third, fourth order effects are going to be? No, right? That's a lot of data. That's a lot of information. Sometimes it's just straight confusing out here, y'all, in the world. But I'm just saying, like, there is probably a cause, and the cause is causing effects. And like, when you start getting permission to get existentially weird, right? Go for it if you're like, okay, I'm with you. I'm like waiting for permission from folks. I'm like, is it okay if we get a little weird today? Okay, so here's the thing. There's decisions you made literally 20 years ago that have caused where you are now. Who here can identify like a fork in the road, a choice you had? Maybe it was not even a conscious decision, it was just a thing that happened. And it affected every decision and course that happened after that, right? Many of them, right? So I think sometimes we can get a little down and out because we're like, oh, I'm not getting what I want really fast. And it's like, well, you got where you are, because of a lot of things. Like you got a lot of years backing up where you are right now. And there's also things that are not even you, right? Just to give your ego a big bop in the nose on a Monday. Like, yeah, sure, there were decisions that were in your control, but can you think of any decisions in the past 20 years that like weren't yours, right? But you were affected by them. So maybe you were affected by a choice somebody else made, or maybe you were affected by the weather, or maybe you were affected by something in politics or, society or whatever, technology. That's another really good one. Like there's so many, right? Gosh, I love this, Kathy, right? Company got sold and ending up getting laid off. That has nothing to do with your performance. It has everything to do with synergies, right? So I love that example. It's so good. Belief, my friend, is about coming back to who you really are. Who are you really? And who are you becoming? When you are so radically clear about that, you can be true to you, even if there is chaos all around you. I've been like riffing like crazy, and the gram was like not catching any of it. But here we are. You can be exactly who you are, and you can take the actions that are required. You can track how effective those are. And you can become a better and better and better version of you, just like every single day. So belief to me is about really embracing and loving who you've been and who you're becoming and who you are. So we've talked about all of these things. And today we're going to talk about your drive. And not just your drive, your business's drive. Because how many of you can relate to probably having the right belief system or the right desire for what you would love to be true, and yet you still struggled with getting traction? You still struggled with the follow through. You still struggled with that challenge, right? Let me know in the chat. Like if you've done the journaling, the meditation, you did your qigong, your yoga, you went to the seminars, you listened to the trainings, you read the books, you were friggin' all in, baby. And you still got to the end of the week and went, well, shit, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. This never happened. That never happened, and you just feel like you're drowning under the to-dos, the tasks, right? And like, I know I'm not alone in that sensation. I'm sure you feel the same way. Kathy's like, pretty much every week of my life. Yeah, for sure. So today we're talking about this willpower thing, because the thing is that most entrepreneurs, when they get going, the reason that you're able to entrepreneur, like, let's just think about this for a second. You're crazy, right? Because like everybody around you is getting a job and punching in the clock and showing up to their 9 to 5 and, dealing with the man, and they just sort of tolerate it and then kind of try to catch up with life on the weekends, right? Megan's like, it's me. I love it. And the thing is like, if you choose entrepreneurship, you're already a little cuckoo, right? Because you're stepping outside of the standard norm. You're stepping way outside of the standard norm to create something that's never been created before. And I think that's super cool. Personally, I think that's amazing. I'm like, wow, you have like that much faith in your creativity. You have that much faith that you can do something that's outside, that's coloring outside the lines. Like that's amazing and incredible, right? But like a lot of high performers, they can get into this out of box thinking place and still feel what I'll call the Friday frustration. right? The Friday frustration where it's just like you get to the end of the week again and god damn, you didn't do the thing you promised to do and that you've been promising over and over again. And I hear this a lot with entrepreneurs that are wanting to write a book, entrepreneurs that are wanting to get on stages, entrepreneurs that are wanting to launch a new program or a product. You know what the biggest issue is? You're slow. And you know it because you keep showing up on Friday and being like, shit, I'm slow, right? I'm not getting the traction in my action that I want to have, and my beliefs are checked in, and I did my damn spreadsheet, Amanda, and I'm taking the actions, and what's going on here? And I'm going to tell you what's going on here, okay? Most coaches are operating on willpower alone. They think that they're supposed to be motivated all the time. I know I felt this way, especially like after I got my first coaching certification, then I got my second coaching certification. Now I have my third coaching certification. Didn't feel it as much on the third one because I think I'm a little older and wiser, but I just had this idea that I had to drive everything personally. And because I had to drive everything personally, I couldn't let other members of my family handle the house. I couldn't let team members who are like genuinely excited to come to work every day do work because I had to do it for them. I couldn't let my clients figure things out on their own without me just like drowning them in information and details that they got just totally overwhelmed. And that's me. That's my story. And the thing is if you have this belief that you're supposed to be happy all the time, that you're supposed to have nuclear reactor levels of energy 100% of the time, and that you're to imbue everyone around you with that same energy. Eventually what happens is you get what? What happens if you operate like that? No boundaries. Everyone gets a say. Everyone gets an opinion. Everyone gets input. What happens eventually? You burn out. You get frustrated, you get pissed off, you get resentful, right? And okay, this is a strong start on a Monday, but whose fault is that? Yours, Amanda. You keep telling us to work hard. Just kidding. You're right. It's yours. It's our respective responsibility to steward energy. Super important. Because if your energy is trash, or worse, if your energy causes you to crash. So what's a crash look like? Crashes are when you make promises and you break them because you don't have the time, the energy, or the inclination to do it. That's crashing. It's when you, the most reliable one, starts becoming unreliable. And you're unreliable to the people around you. And you end up becoming somebody who's just always giving the squeaky wheel the grease. Have you guys heard that one? The squeaky wheel always gets the grease. It's like a little saying that's basically like whoever bitches the loudest in your life, you put your energy and attention towards hopefully resolving that irritation. And that is like super hardwired into us, especially as women, right? Baby cries, it's our job, right? So what happens if a grown-up cries? And what happens if a grown-up doesn't just cry, they complain? And you have no boundaries. And you think like, I've got to fix everything because I've got to fix your complaints. I got to fix the fact you're complaining. Y'all, that is the fastest path to burnout. So every time you rely on your willpower to do what a system could do, to do what a lower cost team member could do, right? Not low value as a human being. Don't be an a-hole, right? But I mean, like, there's people that are willing to do little jobs for a little bit of money. And they're happy with that. They love it. They love the freedom, the flexibility. They love that, right? Let them have their life. Let them have their dreams and their goals. Like, let them have the work. Let them set it up. Let them execute that step. Focus your energy on the things that only you can do. And I know I'm not the first person to say that to you. I know I'm not the first person to say it, but I'm hoping I'm saying things in a different way today that you're just like, maybe I will let my teenager take out the garbage. Maybe I don't have to make dinner every night. Maybe I don't need to become this crazy tech engineer of automations and workflows. Because what's your genius? That's the thing that only you can do. That's the thing that only you can do. No one on my team can do this live. I mean, they could, technically, but would you enjoy it the same way? Right? Let me know. Would you enjoy it if somebody who had less experience doing it, less business experience, they were just basically reading a GPT transcript? Like, do you think you'd be as connected to what we're doing here? I'm guessing the answer is hell no. So like connection is the thing that I do. That's the thing that I do. Building brand, that's the thing that I do. In my business, the sales, that's the thing that I do, right? The coaching, the hard conversation, that's the thing that I do, right? Do I need to be the human being who downloads a recording and uploads it to a portal? Shout a Y or an N in the chat, Yes, Y for yes, N for no. Right. Do I need to be the one in a world full of AI? Do I have to be the one that writes the first draft of every email? Y or N? Yes or no? Do I have to be the one who sends reminder emails? Do I have to be the one to even manage a schedule? The truth is like, you don't need to be the one for everything. Now, that does not mean this is where nuance counts, right? There's not permission not to do those things, right? Because the reality is if you're building an entrepreneurial business, you absolutely do need to have the systems in place to meet people, talk to people, fit with people, coach the people. Like that's absolutely, happen. The thing is that the reason it's probably not happening very well for you is because you believe you have to do everything and that's what you deserve. Absolutely. Play full out, guys. Take your notes. So here's the thing is, I love this quote from James Clear. He said, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." And what drives your business is not your attitude. Yes, attitude helps. Absolutely. It helps. But like I said, like what drains your attitude? What drains your attitude is when you have frustrations and disappointments that keep coming up because it's just annoying and irritating. Okay? So yes, you need a positive attitude, but positive attitude directed towards your genius zone. And then in terms of the rest of it, the question that I always ask myself is, I have my 5D formula, right? So the first question I always ask myself is like, does this even need to be done? I love asking that question. Like, how necessary is this thing? And if the answer is schmeh necessary, I'm like, cool, don't put any energy, time, or attention towards it, right? Just bless it and release it. Bless and release, delete, okay? How many of you could stand to delete some screen time, right? Obviously stay here for the training because this is going to be like transformative and helpful. But I mean, just in general, like cat videos, we could probably cut the cats a little bit, right? And hey, I am all for a good cat video. I really, really am. It's when the cat video starts to interfere with your progress in your goals in your life that it starts becoming problematic, right? So, TikTok nonsense, right? Things that it's just like, gosh, is this really adding to my contributions in the world? Is it helping me grow my business? Is it helping me deepen my relationships? If the answer is like, no, and also no, then, there's an opportunity there. I think the thing that I really want you to know is like your willpower is about your resources, not your personality. Your willpower is a finite resource. It's not a character trait or a personality. A lot of coaches believe they're just supposed to have endless reserves of discipline. And I know I believed that for a long time. So I've been working out. I hope you can tell. Are my shoulders looking better? Because I've worked out these shoulders, getting some good deltoids. Sexy. Okay. So, but my husband's been working out at the gym for 43 years. 43 years. I've seen that man go to the gym. Like, I basically have to convince him not to drive in thunderstorms. I'm like, there is active lightning that there's no time between when the lightning strikes and like the thunderclap. So we're not driving to the gym this morning, sweetie. Like he's that committed to his gym routine. And if you think that's nuts too, shout out nuts in the chat. And I used to attribute that to discipline. I was like, oh, he has a discipline. Like, so he has a discipline about going to the gym. His personality is like his overall personality, his character. I would not characterize as a wildly disciplined person, because outside of that behavior, outside of the gym, he has a high degree of flex, and he really has to focus on his commitments that are outside of the gym sometimes. And I was like, huh, that's interesting, right? Somebody who's so wildly committed to going to the gym, they're nuts about it. What is it that causes them to not be as engaged on the other things? And what I realized is, I'm like, it's because it's not an identity. There's a lot of hustle bros online that'll be like, oh, I'm just a disciplined person, and like, I just know how important discipline is. And then you listen to their story and you realize, like, they probably are in sobriety, which takes a lot of intention and focus. They've also developed like structures around themselves, environment around themselves to reinforce the routines and the habits that are structurally supporting their goals. So they're not really developing discipline exactly. Like, they end up with having discipline, but it's not because they have like this crazy trait that's inaccessible to you or me. Y'all track that? Do you believe that? Right? Shout a Y in the chat if you do, and ask me for more if we need to push on this. I think the thing is that if everything you do requires you to feel really motivated, then it's on you to motivate yourself. Oh boy. Oh boy. So like, there's a lot of people online that are like, oh, well, you don't need motivation. What they mean, or what, this is so tricky, okay? Because the masses, we use words in more vague kind of ways. And so people are like, well, I don't feel motivated. What would be probably more accurate is if they said, I feel tired. I feel heavy. I feel frustrated. I feel down, depressed, or I feel anxious. Motivation is your brain deciding to focus on something. So if you're motivated to doom scroll, you're caught in a reward dopamine loop with doom scrolling. Y'all tracking this? Right? So your issue is not necessarily motivation. Your issue is probably attitude and energy and clarity. Because so often when I talk to somebody who's like, oh, I'm just not motivated, they've kind of got this big Eeyore energy. And even in myself, when I get into like an Eeyore sort of a place, you know what I mean by Eeyore? Just like, time to write the emails, time to do the social content, time to blah, 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 right? Well, what is that? My energy is in the toilet. And if we look at it, it's like, how's your sleep been for the last 72 hours? What's your nutrition been like? What's your stress level in general? How much movement have you had? And if we're like, none, nothing, none of it, and I'm dehydrated, thanks for asking. It's like, well, no wonder you feel like it's not that you're unmotivated. It's that you feel like crap. And it's because your environment and your routines are set up for you to be okay with the habits and behaviors that contribute to you feeling like. That's not quite the same thing, because I think that distinction is crazy important, because the only difference between you and someone who's really like ticking and bobbing along is like they've got a system, and that system is set up to deal with when they have a crap attitude. It deals with when they're tired. It deals with these challenging feelings that they have. And I think the big thing, and what a lot of the hustle bro and the hustle culture tries to say, is you don't need motivation, bro. You just need discipline. I'm like, dude, motivation is the thing that is going to cause you to choose the discipline. It's going to cause you to choose the thing that's hard and to let go of the thing that's easy. It's going to be the thing that allows you to delay your gratification, right? I think the bigger issue is not, I don't feel motivated. I think the bigger issue, and this is my strong opinion after being a coach for nearly a decade and totally obsessed with all this stuff, the bigger issue is we're not good at dealing with discomfort in 2026. We don't have the same community structures that we used to have. We don't have the simplicity we used to have. The world is going faster than ever. We're being fed hours a day of images that cause us to compare and judge and compare and judge and compare and judge and compare and judge. And our environment has basically told us, it's like, you are alone and you are stuck and there's people out there doing so much better than you, and it's just because they're great. And it's a super surface level kind of understanding of the world. And remember what I said earlier, like everything has causes and effects. So if you feel like crap and you're having a hard time motivating and you're blaming your willpower and you're blaming it on your identity as a human being, congratulations, you've boxed yourself into a cage. But here's the good news. You have the key. And the key is to realize that discipline is not your identity. Discipline is a decision. And you can build a decision to build a system that supports your success. Who's glad they came here on a Monday, right? Shout a Y in the chat if you realize. Everyone can set up a system to improve their success, right? What is a system? A system is a collection of processes that work together to get an outcome. It's using cause and effect. And so if you're having a hard time triggering, okay, now's the time to do my social media, or now's the time to delegate to my team, whatever the thing is that you're struggling with doing. Most phones have alarms, right? Most phones have alarms. So, and how many of you have access to a calendaring application or piece of paper? I'm being a little facetious, right? But like, you have the ability to plan your time. You have the ability to make a decision around that. You have the ability to tell someone when they want your time, hey, let me call you back. Hey, heard, let me circle back with you. Allow me to do that, right? And if they're like, no, this is an emergency, you can reassess and you can be like, well, is that really an emergency, or are you just uncomfortable with the discomfort of me not just dropping everything for you? People are bad at dealing with discomfort. They're not bad at being motivated, because people are motivated to do very silly things every single day. Right? It is the thing that's causing the action. Now, the question is the action giving you traction, or is the action taking away from your success? Right? Here's the other piece. The right people around you fuels everything. It's like a multiplier, right? And even if you're in a community with people and you're like, oh, well, I'm doing my business and you're doing your business, but you're with people who are making that same commitment. It's kind of like going to the gym. Once you really establish, like, I am a member at this gym. I go to this gym. This is my routine. I see these people here. We give little fist bumps. We give little high fives. But just being in a gym with other people who are also sweating, who are also working hard, that helps so much. Even if you can't afford the personal trainer, or even if you don't have like hardly any idea of what you're doing, by being shoulder to shoulder with people who are trying and who are figuring it out, you're going to be in a totally different place than if you stay isolated and alone. Similarly, when you go to hire a team, like if you have the right team in your corner who are taking care of you, who care about your success, who are cheering you on and understanding when you stumble, when you have those people in your corner, oh my God, everything changes. How many people here would love to have more people like that? Shout a P in the chat. If you're just like, yes, the right team, the right people, just even having the right bookkeeper, man. Like, I'm telling you, there's this magic about the right kinds of relationships. When you have them, everything is a whole lot easier, and it's much easier to maintain a positive attitude. The number one indicator of longevity, friends, is your quality of your relationships. It's not even like what you eat or how much you exercise or all of that kind of thing. It's a huge indicator on your stress levels as well. Authentic, real relationships, right? Yes, and hiring a bookkeeper, best decision ever. It's a good example of like mustering the willpower to do something that's kind of sucky, that just like drains you. Sucks, right? And there's gonna be stuff in your life that you're gonna have to dip into those reserves. So I think building more tolerance for discomfort by choosing discomforts. So choosing discomforts like, I choose to go for a walk today, even though it's gonna mess up my routine, and even though I'm worried I'm not gonna get everything done. Like, making those kinds of decisions sets you free. It truly sets you free, right? Because instead of working on fumes, you can have a full tank, right? Shout out tank in the chat if you're like, oh, I want to be a tank, right? I want to have a full tank. It helps when you have the right people, the right systems, and recognize that willpower is finite, not a character trait. Okay. Super duper. Well, I'm super excited. I would love for you to do this exercise where I want you to look at the last 3 times that you felt like things really stalled. So if you got to that finicky Friday, kind of like Friday was freaking me out, Well, what were the top 3 things you wish had happened that didn't happen? Or what were 3 things that you didn't get to spend the kind of time on that you wanted to spend time on? Write them down. Okay. So that's the first step, is write down the 3. And then ask yourself honestly, like, was it a motivation problem? Or was it missing a system? Or is it even a thing you don't even have to do? Maybe you could hire it out. Maybe it doesn't need to be done at all, right? Look for those things and just write down, what is one decision you could have made in advance that would have prevented the stall? And then that's the beginning of your next week. You do those things to get out of the stall, right? So I think like the biggest thing I want people to take from today is just, your issue is not your personality. It's not your identity. It's not your worthiness. It's not your bank account. It is probably systems, and it's probably your support system as well. And just making sure you've got people in your corner who genuinely care about you, that you genuinely care about them. And it's not just like this nasty experience of just like always feeling drained by the people around you, right? You want to be a really great friend to people, but you also want to be a great friend to people who are great friends back, right? So I think like all of those things are going to help you move forward. Tomorrow, we are going to be hosting the First 5 Club. So I'm super excited to welcome you to that. You can, if you're not already a member of the First 5 Club, you can DM me the word club, and I will send you the details to be able to meet with us tomorrow. We're going to be talking about how you warm up your current network. And that's like the most overlooked marketing strategy ever. And we're going to be talking about it tomorrow. That call is at 1:00 p.m. Central for an hour. That's the First 5 Club. Again, you can DM me the word club for details about the club. And I'm really excited to see you there. So thank you so much, you guys. And we will see you very soon. Bye-bye.